This is a brief rant. I've been thinking a lot about this idea of utility. It's been discussed so many times with regards to men and how women see men as a utility and how men see themselves as a utility. And I've come to the conclusion that this is not precise. I don't think men see themselves as a utility. I don't think that they would dehumanize themselves in such a manner. To see yourself as a utility is to literally just dehumanize yourself. And I don't think that's what men feel or want to do. I think what men want is to be important. I think they want to be needed and important, and in some sense that makes them a utility, but I don't think they want to be some cog in a large mindless machine. I don't think they want to see themselves that way. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen men view themselves that way. If you frame it in that light, they see it quite negatively. I think what men want to feel is they want to feel needed and they want to feel important. I mean, it's an ego thing. I don't mean necessarily egotistical or narcissistic or conceited, but men on some level want to feel like they matter. And I think they do that, or they strive to accomplish that through either achieving things or being needed. Maybe there will be people in my audience that think I'm being pedantic here, and that I'm nitpicking, but I think it's kind of a important idea to explore. I think it can explain a lot of male behavior. I will confess that I myself, I think, felt this way, and maybe I don't think I recognized it. I don't think I could have. I don't think I saw it in myself. I didn't. I couldn't identify what it was. I mean, it's essentially validation. When we discuss these feelings or these drives, it can get quite nebulous. And I mean, no man is exactly the same. But I think it still stands that it's not correct to say that men see themselves as a utility. I really don't think that's a motivating factor in men's behavior for relationships or the things they do career-wise or even outside of that. I mean, men have done all sorts of things. I mean, they've climbed Mount Everest. They've become astronauts. I mean, we're talking about a small percentage of men, but I don't think those men did such things or wanted to achieve things or achieve greatness, whatever word you want to use, just so that they could feel like a super duper utility. It makes no sense to me that you can, if you're an astronaut, I think being a utility would be the last word that comes to mind that you would use to describe yourself. Or, the same thing with politicians or, explorers. I think what got me thinking about this was, in particular, looking at politicians, and I noticed that there honestly isn't a much of a financial incentive behind what they do, or much of like I guess it boils down to power. Like how much money and power does it take to satisfy oneself? And I don't think it's about like control or money per se. It's something else. I was thinking about this. What got me thinking about this was seeing this billionaire cry on TV about this upcoming election in the U.S., and some billionaire was crying on TV because they were talking about taxing billionaires, and I don't whatever, I can't get inside his head. I mean, I look at it and it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, people are obviously making fun of this guy, or they think it's stupid or pathetic. I mean, I think essentially what this boils down to is these billionaires have a worldview of themselves, an overblown, bloated view of themselves, and it's. I think that simply their rhetoric about taxing billionaires hurts their sense of self-importance. It kind of bursts their bubble. It's not like they don't fear the fear of losing money. To them, it's not like when a normal person fears, let's say, just jumping out of a 3-story building or a 2-story building. I mean, you probably won't even die, but you'll break something. I mean, it's still scary. I don't think there's any fear per se or any such emotion. It's just they feel invalidated, and this is what got me thinking about this. It's this feeling that you matter, and that somehow your deeds and your character and your deeds are connected, and that you deserve something. I think that this needs to be explored, and I think men in particular need to feel this way. They need to feel like there's some sort of deserve behind, I guess, the world in general. If they want to feel like there's just winners and that there's just losers, and they cannot distance themselves, I guess you could say. It's like it's a very egocentric worldview. It's literally a worldview based around a sense of self-importance. And I think all men suffer from this. I mean, I know I did. Maybe on my part it's just speculation, but I mean, if I felt this way, I can only assume that other men feel this way. It's not. Utility is just too crude of a word. It doesn't capture the human spirit of the male. I don't think any male would really want to feel like he's just like some sort of good unit, like a good car. Maybe there are men out there that are like that. I mean, I'm sure there's men that feel like they're good workers and, they provide for their families, but I don't think that's like, I'm a good utility. I do a good job. um, making sure my kids are fed. I think it's more a sense of importance and being needed. And, some sense of achievement, no matter how small or fleeting it may be. I mean, men have done all sorts of stupid things to their own detriment. I mean, you just look at that. What's the name of it? The Darwin Awards. I mean, women tend not to engage in that sort of behavior. Men will, try to beat the record for whatever, the most amount of raw salmon eaten in one sitting. You have these competitions, especially in Japan, where they'll have a man versus bear, and which one can eat the most amount of hot dogs. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I don't see any utility in that. There's some famous Japanese guy who can eat a ridiculous amount of hot dogs, and it's a hot dog eating contest, and I think he in one contest he was up against a grizzly bear who was in a cage, and he had to eat X amount of hot dogs. I mean, I don't think in his mind he sees himself as some sort of tool or utility. It's almost like they're looking for any sort of claim to fame. It's a sense of relevance, relevance and some sort of notoriety, importance, but utility. I just think that's too crude of a word to use. So I really want to hear feedback from you guys. This was an off-the-cuff video. I've kind of been thinking about this for a while. If you disagree, please let me know. I want to hear your disagreements. I want to spark a conversation. Let me know what you think.